Hello, and thanks for joining me. My name is Attila Churdy, and I'm presenting this Pecha Kucha on the U.S. presidential elections as assignment 3 for the 3240 Media Enhanced Learning course at Vancouver Community College. I hope you enjoy. Unlike Canada, where there is a singular election rulebook governing the entire country's election process, the United States instead has election laws and procedures that varies from state to state and party to party. To be president of the United States, you have to be 35 years old or older, be a naturally born citizen, and have been a resident of the United States for the last 14 years. A presidential nominee is someone who has thrown their hat into the ring in their desire to be president, and now they need the backing of their party. The U.S. has two main political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. However, there are smaller parties as well as independents, though these candidates typically get less than 1% of the overall vote. Before the general election takes place, each party goes through a selection process where they choose a candidate from the desired nominees. Nominees will campaign for their party's vote to become the party's presidential candidate. If the current president has only served one term, he or she is still eligible to serve one more term maximum if re-elected. Depending on the state, the parties will hold either a primary or a caucus. A primary is like a general election where a nominee is voted on by a ballot. Voters cast a single vote for which nominee they want to become the party's candidate for the presidential election. This is done on a state by state basis, with New Hampshire being the first state in the election year to hold a primary. Primaries can be open or closed. An open primary means that voters can vote for the nominee of any party, regardless of whether they are registered with that party. For instance, a Republican in Texas could vote for the Democratic presidential nominee. A closed primary means that only voters registered with the party can vote for the party nominee. A caucus is different to the primaries, where instead of casting a vote by ballot, voters gather at various venues across the state and break into groups backing their candidates or into a group for undecided voters. More campaigning happens and people shift from one group to another. Counting is done in the open, and a final tally will determine who becomes the party's choice for that state. Primaries and caucuses are not held all at the same time amongst the states or parties. Iowa kicks off the nomination season with a caucus in February, followed by a primary in New Hampshire. But more and more states are starting to vote together on the same day. This day has become known as Super Tuesday. In 2020, 14 states held their nomination election on Super Tuesday. While during the party's nomination process, people vote for whom they want as their candidate by ballot at a primary or by being counted in the group at a caucus, they aren't actually casting their vote directly for the nominee. Instead, the votes they cast will be to win delegates, who in turn cast their votes for the nominee at the party convention. Delegates are party members and loyalists, often involved in their state's politics. These delegates pledge their state's vote for the nominees at the party convention. The total number of delegates is different between the parties. In 2020, the Republican Party had around 2,552 delegates. The Democrats had 4,750. For a candidate to win their party's nomination, they need to win the majority of delegates. The Democrats use a proportional system in every state, where the total number of delegates a candidate gets is equal to their percentage of their vote in that state. The Republicans differ, where some states employ proportional representation and some states the winner takes all the delegates. Delegates can either be pledged or unpledged. A pledged delegate is one that is aligned to vote with the will of the people. They are often elected officials in the party. An unpledged delegate, often referred to as a superdelegate in the Democratic Party, can vote however they personally like. Examples of superdelegates are past presidents like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. The party convention is like a jamboree with music and speeches, and it's here that each state's delegates formally announce how they are apportioning their votes. This is where the nominee is confirmed as the party's candidate for the presidency, and this opportunity also serves as a time for the party to come together and rally behind their candidate. Once a nominee is chosen by the party to become their candidate for the presidency, the next step is for the nominee to choose their running mate for vice president. The vice president only has one official duty, that is, to preside over the Senate and to cast a vote in the Senate if there is a tie. However, the vice president participates in several other government duties. Up until election day, candidates from each party will travel across the USA trying to convince voters to vote for them. Some states historically vote for the same party each election, but some states change from election cycle to election cycle. These are referred to as swing states, and particular attention is paid here, as taking these states could be the key to winning the election. The U.S. presidential elections are held every 4 years on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. American citizens who are 18 years or older can cast their vote for who they want to be president. Typically, the majority of people would do this in person by going to a polling booth. But because of the pandemic, the majority of states have allowed mail in voting, with, at the time of this recording, the 6 states that do not permit absentee voting without an excuse are Indiana, Mississippi, Texas, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Tennessee. The pandemic is not considered in these states to be an excuse for mail in voting. During the presidential election, voters do not vote directly for who they want as president, even though it has the candidates' names on the ballot. Instead, they are voting for electors who are members of the Electoral College, who in December will cast each state's official vote for presidency. There are a total of 538 Electoral College votes. Each state has an Electoral College vote equal to the number of members in the House of Representatives and the Senate. The District of Columbia, having no congressional representation, does get 3 votes, but the territories get none. Except for Maine and Nebraska, the candidate with the most votes in that state gets all that state's electoral college votes. To win the presidency, the candidate needs to secure 270 electoral college votes. It is this vote and not the popular vote that determines who becomes president. There have been 5 instances where the candidate that lost the popular vote won the presidency. The new president begins their term on Inauguration Day, which since 1937 has been January 20th. Typically, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court will administer the presidential oath of office. This year will be the 59th U.S. election, and if the incumbent wins, he will remain the 45th president, or if a new candidate is elected, they will become the 46th. That concludes my Pecha Kucha presentation. Thank you for watching.